We live in a fast-paced and hectic world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and out of control. How do you manage all the competing pressures without losing sense of yourself? How do you stay focused enough to not only plot a path, but follow it? Welcome to Master Your Life, a show that offers inspiration, insight, and intelligence, as well as success stories from many walks of life that can show you how you can control your own destiny. Our knowledgeable and entertaining host and her guests give practical advice that you can use every day in the quest to master your life. Now, here's your host, Leaha Mattinson.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's show. I'm host Leaha Mattinson. I'm so excited for each and every one of you to be joining us from all around the world, wherever it is that you are on this beautiful, glorious planet. I just so much appreciate you joining us for our episode today. It's exciting times out there, all of us trying to figure out how to master our life in this current energy. And so there's lots of different approaches that people are taking. And what we want to do on Master Your Life is really invite people to look at different modalities of how they can be well. And part of that journey happened for me through my journey to wellness over this span of many, many years, dealing with potentially neurological illnesses and such. But I didn't take on the genetic status of everybody else. So that's worked out well for me. But that's not necessarily the case for everybody. So I think people are seeking ways that they can be well that are not necessarily mainstream. And now in this current environment of dealing with the jab, we'll call it, that the energetics have changed even that much more. And some people are coping very well, remaining well. Other people are struggling with spike proteins from the jab. Other people are, not participating in the shenaniganifest, as I've been calling it for the last year plus. And so they're kind of outside the loop of what may or may not be affecting them. And so I was excited to come across this beautiful guest that I'm having today on the show. Her name is Kare, and Kare was introduced to me by another dear friend, Joan Roberts. And Joan said, there's this lady who's doing very cool energetic healing that I think would be a benefit to bring to our audience. And so I reached out to Kare, and she was on board right away with coming and presenting what she does. And she also found somebody who is going to be a beautiful representative of the work, 𝑸𝒖𝒂𝒃𝒍𝒆. I'm going to say it right. So Kare, 𝑸𝒖𝒂𝒃𝒍𝒆, welcome to today's show.
Thanks, Leah.
So Kare, let's just start out with what is it that you do and how is it helping people in this current reality that we're living in?
I guess you'd call it kind of a modified form of the body code, which was created by Dr. Brad Nelson. And it's pretty much the body code, but I take into account that there could be things going on for the person that aren't necessarily included in that particular modality. So I include pretty much everything potentially possible to use within that modality. So if there's a morphogenetic field that I could access, like say there's a chiropractor who has a particular wonderful method that works really well for his clients, I can tap into that field and actually use that information to support my client. Or as you can see, I've got tons of reference books. I'll just say, is it in one of the library? Which book is it? What page? What do we need to know? And then as well, there's I've been trained in Reiki, quantum healing, matrix energetics, pretty much you name it. It was quite the journey getting here.
And so maybe you could share a little bit more actually with the audience about what actually got you into this sort of medicine in the first place, which is, outside the mainstream, that's for sure. You have a very interesting personal story.
Oh, I do. Okay.
Yes. Oh, I found it very fascinating. And I think a lot of people will find it fascinating. Yes.
Okay. Well, I started working for a biofeedback company back in the late 90s. And it was quite interesting getting involved with them. I started as a practitioner, then they were looking for tech support. So I signed on and I was doing tech support, writing books, helping clients, training the practitioners, all sorts of things for them. And then the company ran into some difficulties in 2012, and us contract workers were let go. They just kept on a core staff to kind of keep the company going on. They're doing great again now, which is really nice to hear. But I always felt that using that device, I should be able to do it myself. It was just kind of a feeling like, why am I using a machine to do this when I know I can tap into different energies and be able to put them out to a client? So when I was let go, it kind of changed my path, because if I was still working for the company, I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing today. You know, those little changes that happen in your life that change the direction. So I took courses in Reiki and matrix energetics and all those wonderful modalities, but nothing really clicked. It was like, okay, that's awesome, but now what do I do?
Now what do I do?
But yeah, now what do I do?
Yes.
So then I came across watching a show on Gaia, Dr. Brad Nelson talking about the body code. And it was like, you know, the proverbial light bulb going off on the top of your head. It was like, oh, there it is. So I took the classes, got certified. And prior to that, I had clients and I was getting results. But after I integrated the body code into what I do, it was like I'm having a tough time keeping up with clients and the different ways that the healing is taking place for them, it's absolutely awesome. So that kind of brings us up to today. And then I was working with a few clients with regards to the jab and the issues they were having. And it was kind of across the board in that some were having neurological issues, some were having more pain related, some were exhaustion. It was very varied. But the bottom line was, it was all from the spike proteins, and it was all because the spike proteins had put out a saboteur energy. Now, I know that may sound weird to some of your listeners. We might be going off into a little bit of the deep end for some people, but every practitioner sees things a little bit differently. This is the way it presents for me. It may not present the same for anybody else. So what I found was, I'll give you an explanation of what a saboteur energy is. So it's when someone has placed an energy weapon in your field, is basically the simplest explanation. Usually it's done on a subconscious level, unlike a curse that's done consciously and very maliciously. A saboteur energy is like someone wanting to stab you in the back, and you end up with an energetic knife in your back. In that kind of a case. With regards to this particular concoction, it's not a conscious thing, because it's not a conscious material, but it's built into the makeup, in that when you pick up these spike proteins from the people that have had it, then it has a particular path it wants to follow. It wants to attack your right adrenal gland. And I've found that with over 50 people now that I've worked with. And I went through 20 before I kind of thought, hey, wait a minute, maybe I'm onto something here. And so what I did was I found that there's a particular protocol that works for this and helps the adrenal glands. It gets rid of the weak links you have in your system that allows it to actually access your field and get in there and do damage, because everybody's weak links are different.
Yeah, I love the identification of the saboteur energy, because I think it happens on many levels. We self-sabotage, other people sabotage us, and we might not even be aware of I think a lot of people are very unaware of how much media affects us in that saboteur energy that's coming out of a lot of people many hours a day when they're watching either mainstream media or even just listening to kind of mainstream shows. It seemed pretty innocent, but you're getting these constant messages of Yeah, sabotage, right down to, should I go and have that extra thing to eat out of the fridge? Through the marketing companies going, well, yeah, you should go to, even though you've had these great intentions of not sabotaging yourself on whatever your nutrition is and not allowing yourself to ingest things that you know don't make you feel good, that saboteur energy, which is very, and I don't think this is out of anyone's wheelhouse for understanding that it's intentional, so we've got to become wiser about this, that it's real. Sabotage is real. Now, we don't really maybe understand the reason for it, but sometimes that doesn't matter. The why gets us really tripped up versus just going, it is, and now what am I going to do with it? So I love that. Yeah, I love that analogy or that example. Kare, could you take a minute just to introduce Dora? Dora, how did you guys meet and what's your background as well?
I got introduced to Dora through, how did I get introduced to you, Dora? My daughter and I came up to see Dora at their place in Port Alberni, and they have a wonderful healing center there. It's called Go for Wellness. And we got to have sessions in their tachyon chamber that Cobra had set up. And it was, my daughter actually saw a Pleiadian, which was kind of, well, mind-blowing for her. And me, it's like, oh, cool. And I felt a really sense of calmness and wellness after our time in there. So after that, I got an invite from Dora to join a Monday group of ladies that get together and have chats. And we've just got to know each other through there.
Nice. What's the Pleiadian look like? I have to ask.
Blue.
It's just there.
yeah. She said it was a blue being. It was just like this blue being in the shape of a bipedal human. Yeah.
Nice. Well, peace, brother, sister Pleiadians. So, so you met Dora in Port Alberni in her healing center, and then the two of you started doing some work together. Dora's been kind enough. Dora, maybe can you give a little bit of your background? You've been kind enough to volunteer yourself for some energetic work, but I'd love for the audience to get to know you as well.
All right. Well, yes. It's actually, I feel it's divinely inspired that I've come into contact with Kare. It's been such an easy journey to connect with her. And I love that everybody comes in with different experiences with the tachyon chamber. And then we also have frequency healing, which is sort of your, what do you call it? It's just a rudimentary med bed is what I call it, because it introduces right frequency and quantum frequency. And so there's a few other modalities we do as well. And so one of the things I'm involved in is 𝘖𝒐𝒕𝒂𝒃, where I reprogram subconscious programming beliefs that are outdated. And so Kare's work really spoke to me on a soul level, because it's my passion to work with energy that way. And for her to be able to do it online and now reaching out to help others learn how to do it, I was just, it's just like, oh yeah, we got to talk and we got to get this out here.
Why do you think it's so important that people actually learn how to do this for themselves?
Well, for themselves, but also other practitioners to learn how to do what Kare is doing, but also for themselves, because the healing journey is a personal journey and we have it in us. And so I think what Kare and others who are working with this kind of energy are doing are actually leading people to a place where they can heal themselves. Like, you have the power. You just got to get rid of some of the, or patch up some of the weak links. Or what I do is I reprogram the subconscious. It's so fast with 𝘖𝒐𝒂𝒃, and people are just absolutely, they're amazed, in many cases, but they have to be ready for it. It's not something you can mandate and say, come on in. We were doing a lot of that. Come on, we got something. And it works when you're ready for it. And so this is all prep work for us to move into that higher dimension where we can tap into our own healing power.
Yeah. And it's there all the time. People, it's so funny how we forget, because when you get a cut or you watch a little one get a cut in the playground or wherever, it heals. So we're so surprised that we heal. I'm like, you should be surprised when you don't heal, folks. Because the only one getting in the way of your own wellness is you. And that, so because we're naturally, that's what we do. We heal all the time. So thank you for, I guess, like providing that context, and also another tool or more tools along the way for people to start accepting that as the reality, versus that wellness is some obscure thing that's handed over and given by somebody else. We're a healing being, mind, body, and spirits, all the time. So we're self-generating awesomeness 100% of the time, 24/7. And that is us blocking up stuff that gets in the way of that. So I love that. I love that bridging.
So many healers, so many healers are busy healing or helping others to reach their healing, go on their healing journey. And then, like myself, it's like, well, what about me? Kare, what about me? How can we, because we've got energy clearing to do too. And it's so important right now to get this energy cleared so we can move into the higher dimensions and help others.
Yes, I love it. I love it. We talk about in Qigong recirculating energy, and that energy is that some energy is wiped clean and wiped clear, and we swirl it out of our body by lots of different methods, and that we don't give it all away, so that it's like that really attuning to yourself to go, like, am I well? Am I well? And is my vessel well and clean? Is my mind open? Is my heart open? Am I clear thinking? Am I feeling grounded and rooted? And like my energy, my creative energy is good. And so if we're disattached from that, it's really hard to know where to start, which in our own wellness. So I think that that's one of the things, again, that I was struck by what you ladies are doing, is that you're providing that, like the opening for people to step through and go, I don't really know what's going on with me, but I know something isn't in alignment. And I don't know where to start. I'm certainly know I'm not a master at this moment. And I want to do something about this, though, because I want to feel better in my own skin. And right now, in these particular challenges, which are challenging on all fronts, that this is a very unique time, and that it is different than what people have been faced with in the past. And so it requires us to become more conscious of wanting to change that for ourselves. And again, so applaud you, and both you and Kare, in your work. So Kare, let's start with maybe talking about doing a treatment or a session with Dora.
Sure. So I asked Dora to give me a hand today because I did a little pre-testing and determined that, yes, she's being impacted by the spike proteins.
Okay.
And you had mentioned, Dora, that you've got some exhaustion going on, and you just figured that it was because you're just so busy.
Yeah.
But when I looked at the adrenal glands, I've got a couple of different ways that I label things in order to see how they're doing. And so the left adrenal gland was running at 23 out of 100.
So if I'm on my body, how do I find that, Kare? If somebody's listening in the audience and they're going, where the heck is my adrenal? Where is it?
They sit kind of on your lower center of your back. Yeah. I believe they're just above the kidneys.
Yeah, so feel for those. As we're doing this little thing, find it, audience who want to master your life. Find your adrenals, just feel back there a little bit and associate yourself with your physical being. And then you can kind of track what is going on as this session moves forward, because maybe you've got things that you'll recognize for yourselves that are being blocked. So I just want to invite everyone to follow along in that way.
Excellent idea. Excellent.
Thank you, Kare.
So the left is functioning at 23 and it's not happy and it's offline. So when I'm asking if an organ or a gland is happy or not happy, I'm basically just seeing whether it's got the potential of functioning at 100. If it's not happy, it's not playing well with the other organs and glands and tissues. And being offline, that's referring to, it's kind of a computer term, obviously, but it's there, but the switch is turned off. It's not really integrated into the system. Does that make sense?
Yes. And so what are the symptoms of that? If I'm somebody just going, well, I know a lot of people who have adrenal problems. I hear the term adrenal fatigue a lot, but what does it actually mean?
Yeah, it could mean different things for different people. Exactly. Exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, you're tired all the time. You wake up, you feel like you woke up and a Mack truck has run you over while you were sleeping. You're not sleeping very well. You could also be stuck in fight or flight, where that means you're on high alert all the time. You're just waiting for someone to come up behind you and go, boo.
Right. Yes.
That kind of thing. It could also impact your autonomic nervous system even more, in that you're getting headaches. Your nerves are kind of yelling at you. You're jumpy. All that kind of stuff. It's very dependent upon how your system is functioning, your personal genetics, your personal history, emotionally as well as physically.
Mm-hmm.
Dora's right adrenal gland is only functioning at 4 out of 100, and it's not happy and offline. And those are typical numbers for someone who's is vulnerable to the mRNA protein spikes. And she came up as 100% vulnerable. So the right adrenal gland is, in my experience, it could show up differently for somebody else, but it's always the one that's being attacked, the right adrenal gland. So what we're going to do is we're going to, I believe I'm already connected to Dora because we were having a chat beforehand. Am I Dora? Yes, I am. And I use a pendulum in order to test. Some people use muscle testing, but I find that the pendulum's a little bit more reliable for me. It gives me that little bit more degree of separation. So I'm going to ask, okay, well, why are the adrenal glands having such a tough time? And this is where I'm going to go searching throughout all my reference materials and figure out where I need to go. And I'm going to take notes while we're doing this so I don't get lost. Because it can get a little convoluted sometimes. You head down a rabbit hole. So we're going to go to the body code first, and we're going to go to energies and offensive. And yep, we're heading right to the Saboteur energy. So like I said, that's basically an energy weapon that's been placed from another person into your particular energetic field. And I'm going to ask, is it the typical Saboteur energy that I've been seeing for everybody else? Yes. Okay. Now this is where we may get into a little bit of, dare I say, woo-woo territory for some people.
For some, yeah.
For some. So, and this is just the way I'm seeing it. So Dora picked up the Saboteur energy in February this year. And it's an attachment from a person who had received the shot. So Dora was out and about and came across someone who had either recently had the shot or was in the process of exuding spike proteins, and she picked up some. And then they attack the right adrenal gland. And is there 8? Okay. And there's reptilian scales attached to the right adrenal gland. So, and I've had this confirmed by a few people, just so I don't sound like I'm a little bit too far out there. But besides the aborted baby fetal cells that they have in those shots, they also have reptilian DNA. It's just part of the whole agenda of what's going on. Adults always have 8. Children have 4. So if you're prepubescent, you're going to have 4, and adults going to have 8. Don't know why. I guess maybe because the adrenal gland's bigger. Not sure. Needs more coverage. I don't know. So now we're going to go figure out, okay, well, why has that Saboteur energy been allowed to attach to Dora's field? So we're going to go to body code, my book, desktop. Okay, I have to move your face a little bit out of the way.
I'll move it myself.
And we're going to go to a document I call outside body code. And is it column A? Column A, is it even to 4? Okay, we're going to Quantum K book. All right, so here's another reference material, the Quantum K system modality. And it is very cool in that it has 17 chapters, and each chapter is about something a little bit different. So in Dora's case, we're going to, is it even, is it odd? 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, is it 11, 13? We're going to go to emotional healing, and we're going to look for the page we need. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, page 4? Okay, so let's go down. So if that's 121, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so is it somewhere on this page? Yes. And is it in to remove, restore, release, release, remove, release, remove? Okay, is it in this section here? Is it in this column, this column, this column? Okay, so there's a bunch of different situations. So is it religious procedures, religious indoctrination, schooling, bullying, domestic abuse, violent crime, sibling rivalry, birth of children? Okay, so we're supposed to look at something with regards to birth of children. Do you have children, Dora?
One.
Awesome.
One boy.
Okay, so it's something to do with his birth. And where are we going to go? So see how we're kind of drilling down. We're figuring out where exactly the weak link is. So now we're going to go back to the body code, apparently. And is it on the left? Is it in energy, circuits, and systems? It's a disconnection. There's different kinds of disconnections, but this one is spirit to spirit, which is where you've got a rip or a tear in your energy field. So spirit to spirit. And what is the level of that disconnection? Is it 100%? Yes, it is. Okay, so it's 100%, which means that it's ripped all the way through. So if you were looking at somebody and pretending that their energy field was like a fog outside their body, 100% spirit disconnection would be where there's an opening in that fog and you can actually see the physical body through it. So whatever is sitting underneath that area is not getting the electrical conductivity it needs and it receives from our energy field, if that makes sense for you. And where is the disconnection? Is it on this page? Is it a gland? Yep, an adrenal gland, the right adrenal gland. Okay. Now, I don't know why we don't just get taken to this disconnection right away, but sometimes we have to go a convoluted route where we're looking at this disconnection. I'm guessing it was created during the birth of your son. And I'm getting a yes on that. So what do we need to do to fix this disconnection? Are we in body code? Yep, on the left in energy, addictive, allergy, emotional, and emotional resonance. That's when you haven't fully processed an emotion, and when you feel it, it rings you like a bell. So like, let's just say anger for an example. And so you're feeling anger. If it's like just a trapped emotion, which is like a ball of energy, you're angry. It's kind of more in your head. And emotional resonance anger is like you're feeling it in your body. Your hands are going to clench. You're grinding your teeth. You're feeling it physically. And what is the actual emotion? AB, even, 2, 4. Depression. Did you have a tough time when your son was born?
Yeah, I did. I didn't. It was like I found out I had to go alone on this, even though I was married.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I only wanted one, and it was like, well, whatever. You're the one who has to raise them, and I guess that bomb kind of
gotcha.
hit me.
Yeah. No, that makes total sense. Okay, so we're going to release that emotional resonance, and I do that just by releasing the emotional resonance of depression. I'm also tapping my fingers while I do this. Some people run their hand over their governing meridian to basically demagnetize it from the field, but I tap my fingers in order to release it. And has that been released? Is there any residual? 24/7, 365 perceived as such. When I'm saying 24/7, 365, I'm doing just a little bit of future testing to make sure that it's completely gone. And then perceived as such, I'm double checking with the unconscious and subconscious mind to make sure that they understand that it's gone. Because if they think it's still there, you're going to recreate it. So it's gone. Yay.
So how do you feel about that, Dora? How are you feeling?
Oh, I just so trust. I'm so grateful for what Kare's doing with me, because I, as she's talking, I'm feeling like, yeah, that all makes sense. It all makes sense, because even this whole disconnect, trying to, knowing what I know with spiritual and energy and everything, sometimes why can't I connect with this? And, so it's making a lot of sense. And I just overwhelmed with gratitude for Kare, what she does here.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Yeah.
And I wanted to say, Leah, that you can stop me at any time if you want to move on at all, if this is taking too long. And I've got an agreement with Dora. I'm going to connect with her later. I'm not going to leave her hanging.
Okay, no, I would like to continue. But I want to point out one thing, though, to the audience that's listening or watching. Some of the words that we use are very powerful, but what we've been trained to do is think about everything. So I want you to notice, for the audience, to notice if you think through everything and that there's this disconnect of the feeling. It's like stuff has to make quote unquote sense to us in order for us to actually move it. And when we really think about the amount of stuff that we know or don't know, we really don't know a whole lot. So yet we still try to make sense of everything. And that's a really common Western thing, is I got to make sense of this in order to either integrate it or let it go or be okay with it. And just a lot of stuff just doesn't make any sense at all. So it's just like that's, the beauty of life is things don't make sense. And some of the biggest joys and delights don't make any sense, like not zero at all, right? You just go, wow, that made no sense at all. But it must have been part of my journey here and something I needed to take in. Again, so much respect for this healing, though. And because this connection between thought and feeling is so important for us to integrate and to get connected between our selves in all of our beauty, like the whole of us. And that when we're continually cutting ourselves off, we're walking around a lot of time like just a head, right? It's like, oh, my head is doing all the work. My head is doing freaking everything. So the thing about this is that it is actually drawing our attention to, there is so much more to us that is so much more powerful than this little 3-pound thing between our ears. And you just nailed it so well, Dora, by saying, it's like, things have to make sense. And then Kare, just the way that you're threading through this, drawing the attention to things and then releasing it, because that's how fast these things can happen. And you tap, I snap, and I have a few other, whatever things, but we all will develop these things that actually work very efficiently once we can get out of the making sense of things. But until we know we're doing that all the time, the Hopi Indians had this, they have it's like a cave drawing. It's not a cave drawing, but it's a rock drawing. And so the first thing is like a stick guy with a head and the full body. And then as the evolution of man happens, all that's left is a head. And that is that's what they say is the end of time. Actually, it's like, that's when humanity is done for. And so it's like, so we're just his head walking around. So again, thank you for sharing this integration, and please carry on. Let's carry on with the treatment. And Dora, thanks for being a good sport and allowing me to just.
No worries. It's all good.
It's this is a very integrative way to do things. It works. It really works well. So what else was involved in creating that disconnection? And if I wanted to, sometimes I get a nudge that I need to ask when something happened. But we've got a good idea of this, birth of the son, disconnection of the right adrenal gland happened, and some depression was created. And so now we're going to go to our body code book, going to my lovely book of everything. And is it column A, column B? Is it even 1, 3? Oh, a miasm. Okay.
A miasm.
A miasm. Okay, so just for everybody who doesn't know I'm going to read this because it'll make more sense than me trying to babble it. Miasms are subtle energy imprints. Think of them like crystallized patterns that can lodge in any of the whole body systems and cause disease or illness. So Samuel Hahnemann was the guy who came up with the term miasm. He's the fellow who developed homeopathy. Very awesome person. So miasms can be acquired. So that means you kind of create them yourself, where you get tuberculosis, for example, that can create a miasm. You can absorb them from somebody like a parent, for example. They can be karmic, where you've brought them in from a past life. That doesn't happen so often, but it does happen. Can be planetary. There's been a few planetary miasms that have been released lately, which it's amazing and beautiful when that comes up, because you're releasing it for all of humanity in all time, like all the way back to the first time that a human was even in a petri dish, because, you know, however you believe we started.
Right.
But from that particular moment of humanity's conception all the way up to present and future, because when you're looking at that kind of a timeline, you're releasing the whole thing. Same with inherited. That's the last way that you can pick up a miasm. And this is actually an inherited miasm. So I don't just release inherited stuff from the client, I release it from the whole genetic line. So we go back to the person who originated the miasm, I release it from them, and then that changes the whole timeline, just kind of all the way up to present and future, including Dora's son. Did he inherit whatever this is? Yes, he did. So whenever he has children, then those children, it won't be there for them to inherit. So we're impacting all the future timelines as well, and future generations. So it's inherited, like I said, column A, column B, column C. Is it even? Is it even? Yep. So 2, 4, 6. Is it an emotional miasm? Yes, it is. All right. So inherited emotional miasm. And so we're going to figure out who it's from and then what the emotion is. So you got it from your mom, and she got it from her dad, and he got it from his mom. Do I need to go any further back? Okay, so Dora, you got it from your mom, she got it from her dad, and then he got it from his mom, then mom, then mom. But the total number of generations to that originator, is it more than 50, 100, 52, 53, 54? It's old. 55, 56, 57, 50, more than 7, 10, 20, 15, 14, 714 generations. So just to give you an idea, approximately when that was, approximately 714 times 25 and a half, which is about 25 and a half years, is about a generational length. So we're talking like 16,000 BC.
Wow.
Yeah, so kind of just around when Atlantis started kind of failing, per se. So what is the actual emotion? Where am I going to find that? Going to find it in body code. Okay, column A, column B. Is it even? Is it 1, 3, 5? Conflict. Oh, terror. Whoa, yeah. Okay, so terror is an excellent conduit for this spike protein to ride in on. Definitely. Fear, terror, they're huge weak links. So let's get rid of this miasm. And it's very easy. All we do is we just release the inherited emotional miasm of terror from the originator, as well as every single person who inherited it, whether they're alive or they've passed, including Dora and her son. And it's released. Any residual, 24/7, 365 perceived as such. Did it release from the originator as well as everybody who inherited it? Yes. And it's gone. Well, it's in the process of going. The way I have sessions set up is we could release everything, boom, just like that. But that's going to send you into potentially a healing crisis, and you can feel sick or headachy or exhausted or whatever. So the processing part of this, when you're releasing all the stuff that we've disconnected from you, I have it releasing safely, gently, and comfortably. So at the end of a session, we always figure out, okay, well, how long is processing going to be? And then that gives you a time frame on when, in this case, the inherited emotional miasm of terror is going to be out of your system. Does all that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
And how does it feel?
Actually, I'm feeling some, I was just writing that down because I'm feeling a sensation of release in my chest area. And then I got, when you said something, I can't remember what it was exactly, but I usually get a sensation from spirit saying that's correct or that's done or whatever. So I got that confirmation from my guides and from my spirit guides.
Awesome.
So it's almost like a connecting rod came through.
Yeah. The feeling I'm getting that may happen for you because of releasing this is, on some level, it's been limiting your creativeness. It's been stopping you from moving forward in being a creative spirit.
That makes a lot of sense, because I always say, I wonder why I don't follow through.
Yeah. And it's interesting that terror would do that. You would think that terror would be more connected to like a physiological response, whereas you're feeling it in your chest, but I'm not really picking up on a physiological impact that it had on you. It was more emotional and more limiting than anything else. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. If we still have time, let's figure out what else is involved that created this spirit-to-spirit disconnection. So you can see it can be stuff that happened at the time that created the disconnection. It can be stuff we inherited. In this case, we're going back to my book again. Column A, column B. Is it even? Is it 2, 4? So a mental energy. And is it column A, column B, even 1, 3, 5? Is it 5? Joylessness. Mental energy. Joy. And I'm going to send you these notes after.
Oh, great.
Dora. Joylessness. Okay. Is there anything else we need to know about that? Okay. So I'm getting told yes. So there's something that's underlying and involved with that mental energy of joylessness. And we're going to body code for that. Energy, post-traumatic, psychic trauma. Okay. It's not what it sounds like. Psychic trauma is when you feel 2 or more emotions at the same time. So fear and panic, okay, that kind of thing. So psychic trauma. And just an example, how old was, or young was Dora when the psychic trauma occurred? Prior to 10, prior to 5. So age 4, so pretty young. So you may not have a recollection of whatever these emotions had to do with. How many are we talking about? So more than 2. So there's 3. A, B, even 2, 4. So depression. And what's the second one? A, even 2, 4. Anger, bitterness. Is it guilt? Yeah, it's guilt. And A, B, even 1, 3. Confusion, depression, guilt, and confusion. And is there anything else we need to know about that? Nope. So let's release the psychic trauma created around age 4 of depression, guilt, and confusion. And has that been released? Any residual 24/7, 365 perceived as such? Is there anything else that's underlying and supporting that mental energy of joylessness? No. Is there anything else that's involved with it at all? Nope. So it's standalone and it's all by itself now. Okay. So can I release it? Yeah. So releasing the mental energy of joylessness. Any residual 24/7, 365 perceived as such. Is all that making sense so far?
It is to me.
It is to me. So we're down to the last 3 minutes, about 3.
Okay. All right. So do you want me to stop here?
Yeah, I think maybe we'll stop here for the moment, and then we'll just talk about what it is that you offer for your services so that people can connect with you. And before you do that, though, I want to just say thank you, Dora, so much for your vulnerability and being available for this. I think it takes an incredible amount of courage to come on and just be open about what might be going on. But what I love is that this thing is done from the position of the observer effect, from the observer. So it's not that you have something wrong with you. It's that we're observing these things that are going on in your energetic field, and we're dealing with them, which is completely different than you need to go home and now, do 500 squats and punish yourself a little bit more. So thanks, Dora. So Kare, how can people connect with you? What kind of services do you offer?
Primarily with regards to the spike proteins, I did a class about 3 weeks ago on how to deal with them, this process specifically. And we have a client and we go through the whole process of releasing the spike proteins from her system and getting her adrenal glands happy. And I set it up as a class to offer to other practitioners who would like to learn how to do this. If you feel a calling to do this, you would find it very helpful, I think, to get this. You can get a hold of me. Should I just say my website, email kind of thing?
Yes, that'd be fantastic.
Okay, so my website is caringforyou.me. So caringforyu.me, M-E. My email is care, K-A-R-E, @caringforyou.me. And just pop me a note, take a look at the website. I don't have any information on the class on the website at this time. So if you're interested in that, just pop me a note and I would be happy to chat with you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, ladies. And I want to just encourage everybody, if you're struggling with something personally, or if you have a friend or family member that's struggling with something, or even if they don't seem to be struggling, but you notice that they have some symptoms, that they're overtired, or maybe they're not sleeping well, or whatever it might be that you go, traditional medicine doesn't seem to be quite cutting it for them. I want to invite you to reach out to Kare, go to her website. You'll find more information about her in her show notes and in our show notes. And thank you everyone for tuning in, for tuning in and caring about each other. Thank you, Kare. Thank you, Dora. I invite everyone to love yourselves, love each other, mind your minds. That's all for us. Bye for now.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you for being a part of our program today. Master Your Life is a presentation of Leaha Mattinson Enterprises, Inc. Join us next time on Master Your Life, helping you to discover the very best of you.